last hour and a half.
I'm jealous, man, on how swift he is on all this stuff. I think I need to maybe hire him and pay him for some tutorials. Anyway, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Luce, and welcome to the Career Transition Workshop. This is session 2 of our series, which is the last presentation for 2020. We will be presenting again in the January-February timeframe of 2021. And that's about all I can tell you, because we have to see how things come together, whether we're going to do this live as we're accustomed to doing or continue to do it virtually on Zoom. First of all, I want to say that we owe a lot of thanks to Stonebriar Community Church, who has supported and fostered this workshop for about 7 or 8 years now. And normally we meet at the Stonebriar Community Church facilities, but because of the COVID-19 situation is why we're doing it verbally. So today in session 2, we're going to be pleased with having Rex Saoit present to us on our resumes and some very important points on how we can really improve that one instrument in reaching our next employment destination. Now, this event is going to be recorded, and it is currently running live on Facebook. The recording, after we're done, will be also on Facebook at the Career DFW group page, and also on YouTube under Career USA. So it's the Career USA channel on YouTube for others to view, so you can pass on that information to people in your network to view in the future. By participating in this event, please be aware, if you post a comment in the chat box, or if you have your microphone on and make comments, or your camera on, you automatically give your consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear as it will in the recordings that are posted later on in Facebook and YouTube. As far as using Zoom, please use the chat box to enter any questions you may have. We will monitor the chat box. Please begin your entry with a question mark so we know you're asking our panel of experts a question. And after the presentation, we will have a panel of experts who will concentrate on answering those questions. If you're on Facebook watching, please enter your question in the comments field, and also start it with a question mark so that we know it's a question mark that you want answered by one of our professional panel. On today's agenda, we are going to have a message of encouragement, a presentation, message of encouragement by Steve Fisher, who's the lead pastor of Care Ministries at Stonebriar Community Church, and is on our staff sponsor at Stonebriar for the Career Transition Workshop. Steve serves on a team that provides hope for those who are broken, discouraged, and hurting in any area of life. He's very involved with Frisco Connect and the Career Transition Workshop in helping those who are seeking employment to provide for themselves and their loved ones. The presentation, as I mentioned earlier, will be on resume optimization, resume design and content, presented by Rex Saoit, who's one of the founding members of this workshop some 21 years ago, and has faithfully served in passing it forward to with his team to educate people who are in the search for employment and provide guidance and support wherever he can. Our expert panel, which after Rex's presentation will be with us to field questions are Locke Alderson, Rex Saoit, who I just mentioned, Lori Davis, Foster Williams, and Jeff Morris, who is the host of this Zoom video conference, and also the founder and maintainer of careerdfw.org, a priceless resource in my opinion. You know Foster from many things he does in the area. Lori Davis is a professional recruiter and has been with the team for a number of years, and giving her support in helping people find and connect to opportunities for employment. And Locke Alderson, many of you have was on earlier on Jeff's video talking about LinkedIn, and he has been another faithful member of this team for a long time. He's been recruiting for over, I know over 30 years. I want to say 40. He'll tell you the rest. But just a solid bunch of people who have faithfully served to help those seeking employment over the years. So we'll have the message of encouragement from Steve Fisher, the presentation from Rex Saoit, then our Q&A panel. We'll answer questions from everybody in attendance, and then we'll have a quick view of next week's presentation on September 29th, almost the last day of September. So right now, we'll pause and listen to a brief word of encouragement from Steve Fisher at Stonebriar Community Church.
Hello, my name is Steve Fisher, and I'm the Care Ministries pastor of Stonebriar Community Church in Frisco, Texas. And I'm humbled and privileged to have been asked to say a few words today before the workshop begins. Preferably those are words of encouragement, perhaps of insight. I just hope they bless you and inform you and help you. What we're going to do today, I think, is talk about time. I'm going to look at time in three different areas: the past, the future, and the present. And each of these time periods have what I would call a blessing side and a shadow side. And so let's begin to look at each of these time frames and kind of pull apart what I'm talking about. So let's take a look at the past. There is a blessing when your thoughts and your emotions wander back to things that have already occurred. You can derive some lessons learned, some wisdom when you look back and you begin to kind of assess what you did, what you didn't do, and hopefully that you improve and you learn something from it. I'm a big fan of the Green Bay Packers. And I remember as a kid growing up, there was a film clip on our local TV station of Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr. And Vince and Bart were going over game film. And I thought it to be really instructive. You could see the coach talk to the quarterback and say, hey, you did good here, or you missed the call on this one. But it was done in such a way that the quarterback learned. And I think that's not a bad habit to get into, is to kind of look back and have this honest reflection of, okay, I did this well, I didn't do this that well. And so it gives that opportunity for some learning and some discovery. The shadow side. The shadow side of living in the past is because you really can't do anything about it, can you? And there's this theory of anger, and anger grows in the space between what I desire, what I expect, and what reality is. And so anger is what we call a resolving emotion. It tries to bring up reality to what I expect. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. We have to take our expectations, connect them with reality, and then collectively bring them up. But if we spend too much time in the past, if we spend too much time trying to reconcile things that we can't, sometimes it's like running in quicksand, right? The harder you worry, the harder you think about what's gone on in the past, you just sink deeper. And so you get stuck. And so if we spend time in the past, it's opportunistic to be an instructive time, a learning time, a growing time. But if we spend all our time back in the past, we are stuck in the past. And there's generally that anger that is associated with that, because you can't do anything about it, but we keep trying to. And that takes away from the moment. It takes away from the present. So let's look at the second unit of time. That unit of time we'll call the future. And there is a tremendous amount of blessing to be able to spend time looking in the future. That's where hope lies. That's where perhaps new motivation. Okay, I want to get to here. That means I will take extra classes. I will go to extra workshops. I'll talk to extra people. But there's a sense of hope of this is where I'm going. This is where I can be. And many times that provides that hope and motivation to grow, to push yourself forward a little bit. It's a blessing to be able to do that. And for those who are Christians, it is really, again, the blessing of our Savior, that we are not confined to the mistakes or the sins of the past, that our Lord has taken those sins upon us, and we can have a better tomorrow than yesterday or even today. That's no small feat. We aren't stuck in Groundhog's Day. We can learn and we can grow and we can move forward with hope and motivation to find a way to move forward and not be stuck. The shadow side of living in the future too much is that's where anxiety grows. Because even though we're hopeful and even though we're motivated, we don't have any control. And when we spend too much time looking forward, we become anxious. And we become anxious in a fashion that is fear-based. Generally, we don't often look in the future with an abundance of confidence. Sad to say, we look with some fear, foreboding, some anxiousness. And so if you are spending a great deal of time looking in the future, what's going to happen, running scenarios out, uncertain of what it may bring, while you have a blessing in terms of identifying some motivating goals to achieve, but if you spend too much time back there, most often you just are reduced to a bundle of anxieties and a bundle of fear, and that's a very paralyzing set of emotions. So now let's move to the present, the blessing side of the present. That's how we can experience life. It's how we are able to feel with some degree of immediate gratification, friendships and loved ones and relationships and all of the things that go into our day-to-day that make life worthwhile. Eating a good cheeseburger, taking a walk, observing a beautiful painting, a piece of art, or listening to a tremendous piece of music, or maybe talking to a dear friend. All of the things that are present and current that I believe our God gives us so that we may be engaged in this life. So living in this present moment has the great blessing of being engaged in life and being able to receive the real-time blessings of a real and present God. The shadow side, there is a shadow side, I think. Because sometimes when we're in the present, we are absent, meaning the time goes by, but we are absent. We are just not present in day-to-day life. And therefore, for lack of a better word, we're wasting that time. That a day goes by, a week goes by, a month goes by, 3 months go by, a year goes by, and we've not engaged in anything. So the danger is of staying focused, of being in the present, is that you may be just so present that you're absent. You're not thinking about, okay, where am I going? You're not learning from where I've been. And really the opposite occurs, of the great blessing that we have been given. For those who are believers in Christ, one of the great blessings of being present and engaged in your life is this is how we get to experience the third person of the Trinity, the Holy Spirit. For the great counselor, the great convictor, the great comforter, our scriptures say has been indwelt in us. And therefore we have the constant opportunity to listen to lean into a God that loves us, that cares about us, that never lets us alone. And so I pray that gives you great comfort. So each day brings us the opportunity to spend time in these three areas. When we're in the past, the question really is, and we'll spend time through a day in various pieces, parts of that time. And again, each have their blessings and each have their shadow side. And so we're asking you to be aware of that. Where are you? Where do you spend most of your time? And I think a distribution of all three of those is really important. So if you're spending time in the past, that has the opportunity to be full of worry and anger and trying to change things that simply cannot change. That's the shadow side. The blessing side is it's an opportunity to grow and learn, where you gain wisdom from. Most of life is not a cognitive ascent, it's iterative, it's trial and error, we learn. And so if you're not attending to that, I think you lose some opportunities for some wonderful life lessons, professional lessons. The second place we talked about is the future. The shadow side of the future is that you can become so overwhelmed with anxiety and uncertainty, and fear becomes the only place that you draw any of your thoughts from or your energy from. And that fear and that anxiety just locks you up. But the blessing side of looking in the future, that's where hope comes in, that we can have a better tomorrow than yesterday. That's where the opportunity to become motivated, to push yourself, to grow, to use the gifting that God has given you. And so again, the downside, the shadow side, is fear and anger. The upside is hope and motivation. And finally, the present, what we call today. The shadow side is that you could be absent, that you're not attentive to it, and you're wasting the moments that God has given us. And they're precious moments. The blessing of staying in today is to be present with your Holy Spirit, to seek the counsel, to hear the conviction, to provide the comfort. And so you're engaged. And that's my deep hope. After listening to these few words, that you do take a little time to take an inventory. Where am I spending the majority of my time? And if I'm spending it there, am I looking at the shadow side of it? Or am I giving the opportunity for a blessing to occur? And so I often say this, that life is hard. Not an original statement. But it's always harder when you go through it alone. And that's what I remind you. That if you have a faith, our scripture says a cord of three is the strongest. That you've got the Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. You have yourself. And one of the wonderful things I love about these networking opportunities, about what you are going to hear, what you're going to listen through, is that you're not alone. We have other people. So that core of 3 is your own capacities, your own gifting, the power of the sovereign God and one another. And it's that core that is the strongest, no matter what you're going through. I believe that if you hold with that core of 3, you're going to be fine. And the good people of this workshop, they are indeed good people and are here to help you, to serve you. And I pray that you take advantage of that. So again, a great privilege to just take a few moments and perhaps give you that different perspective of time in the 3 areas of time: our past, our future, and our present. And I pray that you are bringing the right focus, the right distribution of time, so that your blessings are abundant, and then you're able to share them with others. Wouldn't that be great? So again, I appreciate the opportunity to take a few minutes. I know you're going to have an incredible experience. And again, if there's anything we can do at Stonebriar Community Church, let us know. So see you soon. Bye.
Okay, well, I hope that was helpful to some of you, depending on where you are. So I want to review now the team that makes this all come together, both when we're in person and as we do this virtually. I've already talked a little bit about Rex Saoit. We also have Gail Houston, who along with Rex is one of the founding members of this workshop. Gail is a recruiting executive at Intuit and will be presenting in one of our following sessions in the coming weeks. Locke Alderson, who presented to us last week, has been with us many years as well and is a faithful member of this team. Gail Bridgman, who is been a member of this team for quite a while. All 4 of the previous, all 3 of the 4, except Locke, who's retired, but does work on a contract type basis right now, are employed. And so they spend their extra time helping to put this workshop together. Lori Davis, who is also actively a recruiter, and should be with us for part of our expert panel. Foster Williams, who many of you know, the founder of the Career Search Network and many of the subgroups that are a part of that network. And Jeff Morris, as I mentioned earlier, part of the team as well, and founder of careerdfw.org. You've seen Steve Fisher, who is our sponsor at Stonebriar Community Church, along with 2 ladies who do a lot of back office work that you never see or hear about, but without whom we couldn't get this whole thing put together. That's Karen Hawkins, who's an operations lead, and Jean Allen, a lead administrator with the Missional Living ministry at Stonebriar Community Church. So our thanks and our blessings go to all of them. We're so grateful to have them, for without all these people, this kind of event wouldn't happen. A couple of things I'd like to encourage you to do is Rex is going to be up in a moment, and so we ask you to go to the top of your screen and select speaker view, and that way the picture on the bottom of this slide shows that in between the video of Rex and his PowerPoint presentation, there'll be 2 vertical lines. You can move those with your cursor and increase the ratio of the 2 objects as you feel fit to do. Chat. Please use the chat box to enter your questions. If you're asking a question for us to address, please start it with a question mark and then your question. After the presentation, the panel will review those and try our best to answer everyone's questions. Um, if you're on Facebook, please use the comment field on Facebook where we're broadcasting live to enter your question, also beginning with a question mark. So now here's Rex Saoit on resume optimization, design, and content. And I think you'll get a lot out of this presentation. Rex is quite an expert at this. He's been in HR and recruiting for quite some time, and he'll give you a little of his bio. So Rex, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Okay, great. Jeff, can you let me share my screen, or is that something that I can control now? Okay, great, super. Let me start my
There you go.
slide set, and let me go to, let's see, slideshow from the beginning. Let's see if that, okay, great. Yeah, thanks everyone for allowing us to get into your job search and for the very busy time that you have. John, thanks for the introduction. If I was half as good as what you said I was, I'd be 4 times as good as what I really am. So I appreciate that. I want to give information about this ministry. We started this ministry about 19 years and 5 months ago. And to my estimation, we've had the opportunity to serve, and this is registered guests, 20,876 people. So the attendance that you give us is the blessings that you give all of us. For all of the recruiters that are on right now or will be serving you today, we have approximately 136 years of talent acquisition, staffing, and recruitment horsepower. So we're hoping to give you a lot of good information through here. I've got about 30 minutes to go through my my presentation, so I'm going to start off fast and I'm going to collect speed as I go along the way. Let's see. One of the things that a lot of people ask themselves, what am I missing? How come I'm not getting the phone call? I have reworked this. I've retweaked this. I've talked to a lot of people, and it seems like I'm not getting any leads. I'm not even getting any contacts from recruiters. So basically, what's the secret? I'm going to go over what I call at least 3 contact platforms that you have to impress to get that that offer. The first is the applicant tracking system, which is the machine, then the human recruiter, and then the hiring manager. So if I can go over how your resume can touch and impress each of these platforms, I think that you'll get more of those leads and contacts and follow-ups that you're looking for. First of all, why the applicant tracking system? The applicant tracking system has been around since the mid-1990s. And the reason why is that so many people have applied for positions that it overwhelmed any other system. So they came up with an applicant tracking system. As of now, the best count that I have, ladies and gentlemen, is that 494 Fortune 500 companies use this. So if you apply for Deloitte, if you apply for AT&T, if you apply for Bank of America, those types of companies, they're probably using an applicant tracking system to take a look at your resume. Some things that people know right now is that human resources has been cut pretty lean. A lot of people have been laid off in human resources, and guess what? That affects the recruiter. So I can even say right now, even more emphasis on the applicant tracking system and being able to impress the machine on your resume is necessary. I'm going to go over a monster search. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to give you some information about what the applicant tracking system does and how it operates. A lot of people will talk about the applicant tracking system and will not go to this sort of extent on, well, really, how does an ATS work? So I'm using monsters right now. If you've been part of my presentations before, I've used this example from the past, and I still think that it's pretty effective. What you're seeing in front of you, team, is a very basic, fundamental 4 parametric search profile for Monster. Can I get into this, Rex? No, you can't get into this because it's it's paid for. First of all, I'm gonna see if I can use a tool. Can people see my arrow? I hope so. The parametric search that I am showing you right now is very, very familiar to Monster, Oracle, SAP, any of the Fortune 500 companies that have an applicant tracking system. All I'm looking for when I rely on my applicant tracking system using this example is this. I'm going to ask the machine to pull resumes that has keyword search for sales. I want to look for flower mound. I want to find those resumes in a 30-mile radius, and I'm looking for candidates that have submitted their resumes in the last 90 days. So this is what the search screen looks like. This is, let me close this so that I can go to the next page. Next page. What a lot of workshops will not show you, but will tell you is this. You need to have your resume have a lot of keyword searches or a lot of keywords on your resume. There are rarely workshops, and I've heard it for many, 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 many years to see if people are getting the information about how many keywords is enough keywords that can get the system to notice me. I'm showing you a resume from that basic key parametric search. And what was I looking for? I was looking for flower mound, sales, last 90 days in a 30-mile radius. I'm looking at right here, and let me bring up my this is a resume that was produced from that search, and the impression that I want to make on the team is look how many times the word sales is used. This goes on and on. Let me go to page 2. You're seeing sales, 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 all the way through, okay? Rex, what's a keyword search that I should be looking for? Is there a magic URL that says keyword search? I've looked, there isn't one. But generally speaking, keyword searches are based on the DNA of any job. What's that? The DNA of any job is the job title. If I'm looking for a quality manager, what's my keyword? Quality. If I'm looking for a financial analyst, what's my keyword? Financial analyst. If I'm looking for a human resources generalist, what's my keyword? Human resources. So I want to impress the team that having keywords, and guys, keywords are what? Verbs or nouns? They're always nouns. I've never done a keyword that says achieve, change, anything like that. So I'm emphasizing using the nouns as the keywords. Guess what? On this resume, we had 2,989 total words. Key hits Sales, 39. 1.3% of all the keywords was my keyword search sales with a match score of 7.0%. This was the number one resume that came up in my parametric search. Did I call this person? I called this person. Okay. This is what, or how sophisticated applicant tracking systems are right now. I know that I'm asking for your patience by taking a look at this keyword search. Do you see how in this resume, keywords are at the very, very top, or top fourth of the resume? What applicant tracking systems are doing right now is that this first word of sales has a higher algorithmic value than this last word in sales. What does that tell you? The more times that you can put that keyword towards the top of your resume, the higher quotient or the higher value that the applicant tracking system will give to your resume. That's why, guys, we ask for you to, in the very top of your resume, to put a marquee job title that says, for example, something like, I would think that an appropriate job title would be sales executive, sales manager, sales representative, sales account manager, things of that nature, okay? Now, if you guys can't manage a 1.3% keyword match, guys, you guys won't be shown up. I want to go to the second platform that people have to overcome or win in their interview stage with your resume. It's now the recruiter. How do I win with the recruiter? I give this example every time that I do this presentation. I like the analysis that Ladders did. I want to say that this was done about 12 years ago. You've probably seen this analysis, but not really understood it. And let me give you a little bit more information on how they conducted this analysis. Ladders assembled about 30 recruiters to track their eye movements when they were taking a look at a job. And why is that important? Where we look as recruiters will drive our critical thinking. This is what this analysis looks like. What they found out is that there are, quote, hotspots on a resume. And anytime that you, hold on one second, let me activate my pointer one more time. Anytime that you see if I can pull this around. I know this looks like a weather map, but anytime that you see a yellow, especially a red, that's where the recruiter looked very long and heavy into that area. Rex, what does this tell me? What this tells me is that look at this top fourth of the resume and how much the recruiters will take a look at your resume. I'm keying on this area right here, the top quarter. What am I looking for? Basically, what I'm looking for is keywords and job title. This tells me whether I take the next 5 seconds on your resume or if I go to the next resume. Guess what? Halfway down the resume is a key hotspot for recruiters to take a look at. What am I looking for here? I'm starting to take a look at now your employment history, your job history, and your job titles throughout. On the next page, I'm continuing my search to take a look at your experience, your skill set, and if you have a length of service of the skills that I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for in here. Why, Rex, is this hotspot so big? It looks like they're spending, recruiters are spending a lot of times here. What usually is at the end of the resume? Usually at the end of the resume is the education. I want to see if there's an educational foundation that supports your experience set here for, let's say, that senior sales representative that I talked about.
Sorry to interrupt, Rex. On page 1 of your image there, Phil Young asks, why is a hotspot showing up in the right-hand margin down near the middle of that page?
This one?
No, over in the right-hand margin.
Right-hand margin, okay.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one?
Yeah, do you have any idea?
Yeah, the best thing that I could guess out of that, Phil, is that someone had donuts in the office and they called them out, and that's what distracted that recruiter. I have no clue why white space is taking up that time, but the analysis said it did.
Maybe
I can't.
Maybe they were writing a note in the margin.
Could it? It could have been, but usually this is your first 6-second glance. So Phil, you got me, and I'll try to do more analysis, but everything that I've looked at will not tell me why there's this hard look. But thanks for asking. Okay. Let's boil it down, guys. There's at least 6 hotspot areas that I want you to concentrate on. This top 4th section, okay? What am I looking for? I'm usually looking at your summary sheet or your summary statement, and here I'm looking at whether or not your last job was related to the position that I'm looking at. For here, I'm looking at whether or not you have a length of service for that sales position that I'm looking for. I want to tell you why I'm encouraging people to use bullet item or bullets on their resume. Looking at the power, what I call the power corridor on your resume, it's left side of your resume. The reason why is that the eye is a very, very lazy muscle. All it wants to do is pick up glances on the left. Force me as the recruiter to use my eyesight for the left, and in doing so, use bullets. Anyone that has a rolling, what I call a rolling resume that has language that looks like it's going like this is going to lose my eye, okay? On this page, oh, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can control my, on this page, again, here's towards the end of your resume. A lot of times people will want to put achievements or recognitions or awards, and they put it below the education. Force the recruiter, force me to take a look at your achievements, your certifications, your employee of the month, employee of the year, employee of the quarter recognitions in this spot right here, because guess what? I'm going to finish my review of your resume to get down to here. Okay. I mentioned this to people before. A A lot of people have heard how long does it take most recruiters to take a look at a resume for that first scan? It takes us 6 seconds, guys. As a matter of fact, all the recruiters on this call could probably shave it down to 3 to 4 seconds, because we've seen millions of resumes, guys. So we know what we're looking for. But guess what? Looking at, let's see if I have this right. Yeah. Hiring managers only take, or actually spend 17% of them spend only 30 seconds on a resume. That's not a long time. That's either impressing the recruiter or the hiring manager. Let me get out of this. Okay. So if words mean something, Rex, tell me, what words should I use? Let's break it down to the amino acids. I like what Career Builder did. What they did was they came up with worst words to have on your resume. And guys, I have 13 minutes, and then, John, I'm going to turn it over to the expert panel. Of the worst words to have on your resume, by percent, the worst one using Career Builder's analysis, best in breed, 38% worst word to use. Then number 2 worst word, go getter. Number 3 worst word, think outside the box. Synergy is the 4th worst word to use. So what I'm telling you, or what this analysis tells me, is that if you have a lot of these words on your resume, it's what I call resume cellulite. It's not going to translate well. It's not going to mean anything to the hiring manager or the recruiter. Rex, does Career Builder have the best words to use on the resume? Absolutely. Let me. These are the best words. Same analysis that was done by Career Builder. They love the word achieved. They love the word improved. They love the word trained. Guys, one of the words that's it's not on this it's not on this best words to use on your resume, but I'm going to predict that the next time the Career Builder uses this, the word remote is going to be one of the best words to use, because so much of our workforce is now being driven to home, and being able to achieve and improve are things that are activities that are being done right now in the home. I want you to look at these words: achieved, approved, managed, increased. Anytime that you see those words, you now have the opportunity to give scope and scale to those results. What I mean by that, I want to see a resume that has dollar signs, percentages on your resume, because if you can say that you have been involved with a new sales introduction that increased product line revenue by 14.9%, that overachieved my quota in 2019, that's how you use these words. You use them with precision amounts. One thing, guys, that I want to bring up. Look at this word: volunteered. If you've been in the labor market for a relatively long time, recruiters, hiring managers want you to be able to use your skill. I don't care, as a recruiter, if you have paid or volunteered experience in a skill set that I'm looking for. What I mean by that is that if you were a financial analyst at Wounded Warriors, if you were a quality analyst at SPCA or Heart Association or Cancer Awareness or Special Needs Children, all of those things, you can volunteer in so many other areas and show this continuity of employment. Being out of the workforce, guys, I know is a drag. But look, if you have the ability to volunteer for 8 hours and feel great about it with a need that you want to be involved in, do it. I'm going to give you some timing information. I'm on resume submittal. Rex, is there any timing that can help me in my resume submittal? Absolutely. You can, if you apply on Monday, it increases your hiring chances by 46%. Guys, this is a numbers game. This is an odds game, okay? You want to try to get every edge that you can with as much percentage that you can. I like what TalentWorks did in coming up with this analysis. Delivering your resume between early Tuesday and Thursday before noon local time is, guess what, even better, per Mark Babbitt, a CEO of U-Turn, U-Turn. If you submit, I've never seen this, John, before. Well, I've given this before, but I really wanted to share this with people. The chances of you getting an interview is 5 times higher if you submit an application before 10 a.m. I don't know the analytics that came through this, but I do want to recognize Leslie from dice.com to do this, okay? This last one, guys, you have to be built for speed. Your resume has to be built for speed. If you apply within the first 96 hours after the job has been posted, you've now got a 64.7% boost over your competition. As a matter of fact, let me give you another statistic. How long does it take for a resume? What's the fastest amount of time that a resume hits a posting? If I post a position at 1:00 p.m., when should I expect the first resume to come in? The first resume comes in at 1:04 and 20 seconds. The first resume that hits a job posting comes in at the very earliest 3 minutes and 20 seconds after my posting. You've got to beat those candidates to the punch, okay? Tiff, some hacks and tips and recommendations. These are some quick fixes. Let me get my little arrow. Quick fixes. You can do it. You can do it for your next resumes that you send in. Put your job title marquee or your target job title before your name on the resume. Okay. If you list anything, do it in bullets so that my eye will travel from left to middle of the page. Anything that goes from middle to right of the edge of the page, my eye is always traveling to the left. So stay with bullets, guys. related to this statement, eliminate all block paragraph text found in duties and responsibilities. Too much gaze time is wasted. Okay. My recommendation, let's see, is that every bullet point should not be over 4 lines, but if you can keep it to 2, please do so, because the gaze time for the recruiter is better served. Anything more than 3 lines, my eye is starting to get really anxious. I want to go to the next line or the next bullet. My recommendation is switch to font, switch font to your resume to Arial or Times New Roman. Actually, I like Arial better and Calibra because they're. I think it's a cleaner resume. Our recommendation for font size. What's your font size? 12 point. No less than 10 point, but 12 point is our recommendation. Okay. At the top of your resume, if you can take the next 3 days, create a achievement section. You can do it for each of your jobs, or you can come up with an achievement section where in your career, you can list 2 or 3 standout achievements. I could say in each position, but if I've seen a lot of people right now put their achievement sections where they have 2 or 3 or 4 achievements for their career, and they put this in the top 4th of their resume. In the last job, develop 1 bullet that made you the best in the department. In your last job, develop 1 bullet that made you the best in your company. And our recommendation is to update your resume on the big job boards, for example, Monster, at least twice per week. If I had to say, okay, Rex, you're big on timing. When should I update my resume? Update it Monday morning and Thursday noon. Why is that? It's heavy. It's heavy times where the recruiter will start hunting for resumes. Okay. Guys, if you have the term responsible for in your resume, get it out. It's not active enough. It's too passive. Use verbs in there that are much more active. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to stop right there. I do want you to do one thing though on this second to last slide, and then John, I'll turn it back over to you. People would be very surprised in their last job if they dug down very deep to identify their top 10 duties. What I tend to see is that when a candidate can show at least 5, upwards to 7 or 8 duties in their last job that they thought were minimum, that they thought were meaningful, it gives the resume an authority that they know their job very well. So Rex, what's your tip here? The tip is in the last job that you had, my recommendation is using at least 5 bullets on your resume. Okay. Right now I'm a human resources manager for staffing and recruitment at an organization called JARS. It is one of the largest Bible translation entities in the world. And if you need to get in touch with me, guys, here is a email, and here's a number. give me a shout. I usually have anywhere between 1, 2, 3 calls a week where they say, Rex, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Give me a call, and if there's anything that I can help you with, I'd love to help you. John, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's 5 o'clock straight up, and we can take it to the expert panel.
Well, thank you, Rex. A lot of good information covered there. Now, we've had questions coming in on the chat box, but most of them were as you were presenting. And so if you want to form these out, who do we have with us? I know Locke is with us. You're still here, right, Locke?
I'm still here.
Thank you for being here. Lori, were you able to join us?
I am still here.
Oh, that's wonderful. God bless you. Glad you're here. Okay.
And Foster
All right.
Williams is with us.
I'm sorry.
Foster
is
Oh,
present.
I know Foster's here.
Oh, we got a full house. All right.
All right. Let's see. Rose asked the question, what if recruiters tell you your resume is great, but crickets when pitched to their clients?
I want to hear Foster Williams's response to that.
Foster, did
Here,
you
let
get
me
that?
let me unmute and move to a different part of the office. What was that question again, guys?
Okay, what if recruiters tell you your resume is great, but crickets when pitched to their clients?
It means that they don't want to bother with it anymore. There's probably something that they're missing on the resume, but we don't have time to revisit it with you to get things straightened out. You will go in file 13. And it's different. Different recruiters handle that differently. The main thing is we didn't extract what we needed to extract quickly, and as we used to back in, maybe Lori and Rex probably remember this, but there was a time where we had time years ago to go back and call you back and get it all set up, but we're not allowed that time. We just don't have the luxury of that time in today's world.
Lori, you have any thoughts on that?
I do agree with, Foster about the time thing, but I have some candidates that I've submitted recently, and same thing that's happened, crickets. But we don't always know what's happening on the other side, of the house always, if you will. Right. Especially when, if you're dealing with some of these larger organizations, like the banks, the big banks, or, just large enterprise organizations in general, sometimes that just happens. It doesn't necessarily reflect badly on the resume. Right. We just don't know what's going on the other side sometimes. So I would say if that happened multiple times with multiple clients that they were submitted to, then there might be pause for, to revisit that. But, I don't know that just because they got submitted one time and they didn't hear anything, that is necessarily a negative reflection on the resume.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
Okay. So Phil Young asked, and you did cover this, Rex, but I think he wants some clarification.
Okay.
What is the range of time that recruiters spend on a resume? For example, do some resumes get 3-4 minutes and most get 2-3 seconds? When a recruiter calls me, I'm guessing that he or she spent more than 7 seconds on my resume.
Yeah. Usually, if I really vet your resume very well, okay, I would have spent anywhere between 7, 10, 12 minutes on it. And now I'm starting to really pour in to achievements, the scale of your results, and I'm trying to also discern. It could be tricky, but what kind of culture you've been succeeding in. Okay, so I'm just today I got into a candidate's background. He was a HVAC facilities appliance manager. I spent 12, 15 minutes on it and sent him 2 notifications for his interview tomorrow. Guys, here's a recommendation that you can look at as well. It's not the first call that's going to have you understand what kind of relationship with your recruiter. It's going to be the second and third call. If that recruiter contacts you and gives you the courtesy and the professionalism to contact you 2 or 3 times, that's a very, it's not only a kind thing to do, it's a very professional thing to do, where the candidate experience is probably pervasive in that recruitment model. Okay.
Okay.
Phil, did that help? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Locke, I saw you smiling there for a minute. Did you have an input on that?
Well, I think that recruiters frequently, as I said, the 6 to 10 seconds applies. It's that top third of a page. Newspaper parlance, they call it above the fold. But if I don't see something in the first third of a page, the top half of the page, I'm going to go into the next resume. So you've got to have something, whether it's your accomplishments, which I agree with Rex. You don't have to be a full list of accomplishments, but a couple of accomplishments to support the headline. What's the job title that you're applying for? That allows you to go back, if that experience is many moons ago, to bring that up to the top of the page. So again, you're making it easy to identify and keeping it short and simple, the KISS principle. Keep it short and simple. Don't make me labor to work through something. A paragraph of 12 lines is much too long. Break it up into 2 paragraphs.
Yes, or as Rex said, bullet points with no more than 2, 3 lines, maximum 4. Lori, I saw you nodding your head.
I'm just looking at some of the, am I muted? No. I'm
No.
looking at some of the questions and trying to see if I can help out on any of those.
Okay. All right, so Raj asked, what if you've been in roles where you couldn't quantify the achievements or results, just been consistently meeting or beating deadlines and budgets?
Simply state it that way. Consistently met deadlines, but achieved the budget. It doesn't have to be dollars and percents, which is the best. But if you were consistently doing that, or if you got a quotation from somebody, that your boss sent you an email, great job on keeping up with that. Capture that and use it in your resume. Put it in quotation marks. Others have said about me.
Yeah.
And I think everything is measurable. I mean, you talk to the lady or the person who's answering the phone at the front desk. Well, so they're handling 400 phone calls, distributing it to 25 people across the company. You can measure everything somehow. You can come up with a result. The whole question is, every bullet point on your resume, you really need to ask the so what question. So what? You said this, so what? How can you define it with either a better action word or a better something? You want results sell. If you just show me a resume with your job description on it, that's not going to sell me.
Yeah. And Rex, you know how I feel about that.
Yeah, you're not by yourself there, Lori.
Yeah.
I know that some of you may find this irrelevant, but I keep thinking about the way Madison Avenue does on television. Watch commercials. They've got 30 seconds that they paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for. And what do? This toothpaste will make your teeth whiter in 8 days. You know what I mean? You
Right.
can learn from that.
Yeah.
I think there's a consideration, guys, here that we want to take into account. The folks that are on this call, Lori, Locke, Jeff, Rex, myself, well, excluding myself, these guys are the best in the country. Now they're humble, but they are the best at what they do in this country. We also have a spirit to help. A lot of recruiters that you job seekers have to face are moved along in a hurry. They have not the years of experience that we do in knowing how to extract what we need to extract quickly in order to move to the next step. I would like Locke's opinion on what I'm saying, because probably the majority of recruiters out there are not going to be at our level of experience.
I think the one thing that enters into the picture, you have to understand that a recruiter has a number of openings to fill.
Yes.
Whether it's 5 or 10 or 20, it's a high volume job or it's a low volume job where it's an executive recruiter. But if they don't do their job, they're going to be out where you are looking for a job.
Very good. Priscilla asked, what is meant by delivering on Tuesday? That was, I think, on one of your last 2 or 3 slides, Rex. How do you customize a resume in less than 4 minutes and submit it? You were saying once the job is posted, the first resume should be received like if it was at 1 o'clock at 1:04.
Yeah.
But she also asked, what is meant by delivering on Tuesday? Do you mean an in-person delivery?
Yeah, no, I don't mean an in-person delivery. What I wanted to impress the team on is that, and Priscilla was asking this question, correct, John?
Correct.
The reason why
Hollis.
the reason why Priscilla, there's genius in that question, Priscilla, that you asked. What I want to give the impression to the team on is that you have to get your resume in quickly. Rex, are people timing me? Should I get it in 3 minutes, 20 seconds? No, but the faster that you can get in that resume, guys, if I can find my candidate in the first 15, do I have to take a look at that 16th candidate? No, I don't. If I need to, I remember a position. I had 521 candidates for a position. Did I look at 521 candidates? No, I can't. The faster that you can get in the candidates, I gave you a stat of 96 hours or 4 days. If you can get your resume in with 3 days, say that you were referred by Jeff Morris or John Luce, guess what? Your resume just shoots to the very, very top. So speed, relationship, referral, all of those things is stuff that I look for. Why Tuesday, Rex? What happened? What's so magical about Tuesday? Guess what? I'm digging out what happened on Monday, and I'm fielding all the phone calls from the hiring manager that's bawling me out for why didn't you get me anything over the weekend? So I'm responding to those. I can get back to my resumes starting on Tuesday, and I'm starting to I'm starting to take a look at candidates submitting in their resumes over the weekend.
Lori, what's your perspective on that?
So I would agree with that because it is a matter of time. When we, as recruiters, have a client call and say, hey, I need this, they're expecting us to deliver and quickly. So it does matter when people do get their resumes in. Now, what was I going to say? I had a thought on that and it just left me. Don't you hate when that happens? See this gray hair?
Happens to me all the time.
I will think on that and come back to that. But no, okay. I agree with what Rex said.
Now, I'll open this up to all of y'all on the panel. Laura asks, and this comes up every time we meet and talk about resumes. Must be one page, or is two-page resume too long for two-page resume too long for recruiters?
I want to hear Jeff's response.
Well, all right, so what I believe is you should have a 10 or 15-page resume with everything you've ever done since you graduated high school, and include any jobs you had in high school if they're relevant. This way you don't have to think about what it is you've done. Then when you see a job description, you save that 10-page, 15-page resume, save as the name of the company you're applying to, and you go through and you delete everything that is not listed on the job description. And if you're only down to one page, you're only down to one page. If you're down to 2 pages, 2 pages, 3 pages, if everything is relevant on the job description. Don't give a recruiter other things you've done, because you want them to make that connection. You want to make it very easy for them. So by you having to go back and think, well, did I do this 15 years ago? Did I do this 10 years ago? If you have a resume with 20 bullet points for every job, you can then cut it down very easily and very quickly to just what's on the job description.
Well, thanks, Rex. I concur with that. When we do the live presentation after Frisco Connect, when we're meeting in person, and I do the newcomers meeting, that would be a master document, and then you can extract from that master document and customize according to some of the parameters Rex gave and some of the others Locke and Lori shared, and make it relevant, because I know Foster always says that, make it relevant to that job description. And very good advice, thank you.
John, can I give one more thing on that answer? I don't know where the urban myth came in for the one-page resume. That should have died in the 1980s, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you're 20 years old and just got your degree from university,
Right,
I can understand that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But
I understand.
The other thing I want to add is for people that have a 2-page resume. I've had counsel with one candidate last week, and I told her, this is too busy, I can't read it. So take it, if it means spreading it out to 2.5 pages, spread it out so it's easy to read.
That's fine, yeah.
Yes, Locke, thank you on that. In fact, I was going to say, I'd even give grace to candidates, especially highly technical candidates, which is what I work with primarily. I will allow, I don't get upset if I see a 3 or even a 4. Now that's probably my limit. But even a 4-page resume on a highly technical individual is okay for me. Now, when I get 9 or 10 pages, drives me a little crazy, but
Right.
I don't think we need to do that. But let me circle back on the responding to job postings and when you should submit your resume. What I was going to say on that, it's funny that you were talking about Tuesdays, Rex, because where I work, Tuesdays is the day that we refresh and update all our job postings. They come down, new ones go up, and it happens on Tuesday. I know most people think we do it on Fridays or Mondays, and we actually put them out on Tuesdays.
Interesting. If you have, guys, a number of years of experience, 15, 20 years of experience, you are going to, just as Jeff said, you want to make it relevant. You take that relevance to what that job posting is asking for. And with the level of years of experience that we're talking about here, you're probably going to go to 3 pages. And I am with Lori. I don't mind a 4th page as well. Sometimes you get a 5 or 6 page resume. I'm only going to read probably the last few years that are probably going to be relevant to whatever the company is looking for anyway, because what you did 20, 25 years ago might not be of interest to me. I say might, it could be, might not, probably for the most part won't be of interest for what the companies are looking for with some of the latest releases of technology, some of the latest, some of the latest methodologies that are out when it comes to project management and things like that. So just something to think about. to save yourself some time and ability to get to that job posting and get that resume submitted quickly, as Rex was talking about before.
Well, I hope what you just talked about answered some of Laura Hyatt's question, because
Laura, we loaded you up.
yeah, she asked how far back to go on a resume, career since college, last 20 years, last 3 positions or companies. And so it takes a little discernment. And as Jeff said, you have your master resume, everything. You take what's relevant in those time periods. With technology, 20 years ago, we may not be using that technology so much anymore, unless it's mentioned in the job description.
Right.
You know.
But I also think you've got to be very careful, and I'd like to hear Locke and Rex's and Lori's comment on this, is that you don't want to be listing jobs from 25, 30 years ago. What you want to do is you want to have a category that says prior work experience, where you can list a job title, where you worked at, and 1 or 2 bullet points that relate to what's in the job description. You don't need to tell them this was 35 years ago if it's relevant.
Good point.
One comment I'll make on that in terms of prior experience, again, people have a long resumes. They can cut something off at 10, 15, or 20 years. There's obviously some logical break point at that time where you can list the others as prior professional experience, list just the company name, the title of the job, and if there's an accomplishment, let's list that, but drop the dates off. They do discriminate against old folk like me, If you look at my profile from Jeff this morning and he adds up the experience, there's 61 years of experience on that profile. It's not, I don't have all that. There's some significant overlap on that. So
I know, and if you've got a 19-year-old recruiter, they're probably not going to call us.
That's the truth. So I have a Lori Locke Rex question, if I may, if that's appropriate, John.
Well, if it's quick.
It'll be quick. So I have seen resumes with people that I know, and because I am been involved in the network for a long time, I met a lot of people. Some people I know have the level of experience that a Lori or Rex or Locke has, and their resumes only show 12, maybe 15 years experience. Doesn't even bother to show the experience that goes back to 1953. No, I'm kidding. So is that a positive or a negative, guys? What with you guys, what do you think about that?
I think in many cases, it's a question of what have you done lately? That's going to be your biggest value that you have. If something you did 20 years ago is valuable, include it. If it's not, drop it off. What they're interested in is really with a resume. Relevant, yeah. Really what a resume is designed to do is to get somebody to pick up a phone or send you an email and call you. But they'll talk to you. Then you can relate the other information. It's kind of like the old, in the advertising in the women's magazines used to have a scratch and sniff. What you're trying to do is to get them to scratch it and sniff, which means pick up the phone to call you or send you.
Yeah. I like the words that you guys do. Jeff hit it on the nail on the head. Is the experience relevant to the position that you are applying for? That's what you have to ask yourself. And a lot of people I know, when we've got a lot of experience, like many of us on the panel, you're like, oh, but that was a great, I'm so proud of what I did there. And they want to leave it on. That's great. But you have to realize what the reader's looking for. And the reader is looking for relevance to the job description. Yes. And if you keep that at top of mind, that will help you, I think, to better craft your resume.
Okay. Erica asks, are summary and objective are imperative?
I think one comment on objective is something that you want to drop. It's dated. It shows how old you are. People don't care about your objective. What they care about is, can you do the job? So if your job title matches the job title of the position they're looking for, that's a plus. If your experience in the summary section matches what they're looking for, that's a plus. But an objective, I want a job that's going to give me lasting employment or rewarding. They could, in many cases, the employers could care less about that.
But you could start with a professional summary and do some bullet points, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Professional
Right.
summary, his, yeah, history of achievements, summary of achievements, something like. I think that that's more results oriented than an objective statement that can lean much more for aspirational content. I'm looking for qualification. So starting with, let's say, a summary of achievement is, I think, much more powerful.
Okay, and Erica also asked, is it beneficial to apply for the same job more than once? Example, on both LinkedIn and company site. The advent of COVID has me possibly needing to change industries entirely, as hospitality, meetings, events is decimated. How do we show transferable skills? If you're looking above the fold, does education need to go at the beginning, even above job experience?
Looks like Jeff has a good, decisive
Education
feedback
does
on
not need to
that.
go above the fold.
Yeah. Who asked that question, John? I'm sorry.
Erica asked it.
Erica, yeah, thanks for that question, because it opens up something maybe even more basic. A lot of people are looking to transition into something entirely new, not just transfer from, let's say, HR to HR, but if you do look for a transition, Rex, what are you talking about? I tend to see a lot of people from, let's say, real estate wanting to get into operations or accounting or something like that. My recommendation is to have a resume that looks at skill sets that shows competency, skills, ability, and you shift away from experience because you don't have 5 years of accounting. Okay. So lean into a resume that talks about strengths, skills, and competencies, and lean in very, very heavily into your network. Because the resume doesn't take you as far as your network if you're looking to transition into an entirely different industry.
Okay. Mike wants to know, what's the etiquette in sending in mail to a recruiter after you apply?
Good question.
Okay, Foster.
I threw myself under the bus, didn't I?
Yes, you did, sir.
I don't know. I'm curious to hear. I am a little uncomfortable without the ability to articulate why. At that point, to connect immediately with a recruiter after submitting your resume for a position. I'm asked a lot of times to connect people to recruiters. Say if Lori had a job and a candidate submitted that job in Foster, will you introduce me to Lori, or will you connect me with Lori? I am a little hesitant to do that, and I really don't know how to articulate it. Rex or Lori or Locke, do you guys have a
there's a difference between being a pest and being persistent. This is a persistence game now, guys.
Yeah.
If there's a way, and being courteous and professional can open up a lot of things for you. If there's an email that I can follow up with for a recruiter or someone in the interviewing chain, the hiring chain, absolutely positively, I send that email, even though I sent my resume into that into that website for the company. The question came up before, John, do I send it via LinkedIn or do I send it via the company job website? For me, the answer is yes. I do both. I maximize my exposure.
Mhm.
Lori,
And
what's
I will
your
just
take
say,
on
as a
doing the phone
recruiter,
call?
I do not mind if candidates in-mail me directly. Now, I don't want to get, slammed, I mean, obviously, but the people that have reached out to me usually have some really good skills, and I end up talking with many of them. So I really don't mind that, as long as they have the skill set or close to the skill set that is being asked for in the job description.
Being a recruiter, and being in the filling the shoes that I do, whatever that is, a million different things. Being a recruiter, I do make people that are requesting that I connect them with a person that I have a relationship with, and I do put emphasis on that word relationship. I don't believe in just connecting people through LinkedIn and throwing names around. I don't. And so I look at the job description and I discuss it with that client, with that candidate, and we determine the fit there. And we usually come to an understanding of whether this is a good idea or whether it's not. But I know that there are a lot of people that are involved in this other than Foster, and so I don't know if there is an expertise that exists with people that are not recruiters. I'm nerdy and I like to dig into things, and if my name is going out, I don't want to represent Phil Young I'm picking on you, Phil, to Lori if it's not a good fit, if Phil shouldn't be applying to this position. It's not for Phil. Lori's going to get tired of hearing from Foster if I keep submitting these people that are not a fit.
Never get tired of hearing from you, Foster.
No.
Good answer, Lori. Good answer.
I'd like to add one thing. Carol Burkell, who teaches the Thursday resume class that Career FW puts on, her thing when she's been a recruiter for 35, 40 years spread out over different companies. And she said, every time, forget the in-mail, she said every time a candidate would reach out and call her up and say, I just submitted my resume online, or I just filled out the application, I am exactly who you're looking for. She said every time that would happen, she always would look at their profile, they'd look at their application, and usually, many times, that would be the person they hired, just because they would reach out and do something more than just hiding behind an email. If you can get hold of a recruiter, if you know who it is, reach out and make that phone call if you're an 80 or 90% match.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of us recruiters put our contact information out there so that people can reach out to us. But Jeff, it's interesting that you say that, because I rarely get any phone calls.
Me too.
Well, but there's a reason for that, because technical people tend to be introverts, and so
Yeah.
they're not going to reach out and do that. If you were recruiting for sales, I bet the phone would be ringing off the hook.
I'm glad I'm not. Nothing against salespeople, but I like my technical folks.
Yes, everybody's heard the joke about technical people, is that you can tell a technical person's an extrovert because they'll look at your shoes instead of their shoes.
Oh, okay. I'll remember that one.
Me too.
Okay, well, we're running a few minutes over. We need to bring this to a conclusion. So our next session will be next week, the 29th, and we will be pleased to have Gail Houston, who will talk to us about using the internet and social media for a job search. I'd like to remind everybody that not only is this session going to be is being recorded and will be shared on Career DFW on Facebook and Career USA on YouTube, but I would also like to encourage you to open the chat before you leave this meeting. And in the lower right-hand corner, you should see a page icon with the name file and a circle with 3 dots next to it. If you click on those three dots, you can save the chat as a text document on your laptop or whatever.
Yes.
And of course, you can review everything that was discussed by looking at the recording, which will be posted in a few hours today. So I'm going to close this in a word of prayer and ask you to join me for just a moment. Heavenly Father, thank you for the team you have assembled here. It's by your appointment. You've granted them talents and wisdom and discernment. You know our desire for employment, for work we enjoy doing, and for the next step in our path and our careers. So we pray that you would guide us as we continue on this part of our journey. May we focus on your will for our lives, putting your desires and your plan above our own wishes. We ask that you open doors to new opportunities that you desire for us and equip us with the skills, knowledge, and wisdom we need to take the next right steps forward in this process. So we place this in your hands and ask for your blessing and thank you for your presence in our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. I want to thank everybody for joining us and participating. I want to thank our panel. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.